Hi, I'm Rob Waldron from Integrity Financial Associates. Last time in my series of Guides 2, we looked at some general principles regarding insurance. In this one, we'll have a closer look at life assurance. First of all, the difference between insurance and assurance is simple. Insurance is to protect against something that might happen, whereas assurance is protection against something that will happen. Now, there are many different types of life assurance policy and many reasons behind why people use it. In this guide, we'll look at some of the general reasons behind it. Most people associate life assurance with mortgages. After all, the word mortgage literally means death pledge. It's derived from the word mort, meaning death, and gage, or to pledge. But if you have a family or a partner, how would they cope without your income for the rest of their lives? With life assurance, there are a few key questions that you should ask yourself. Number one, do I need it? Or rather, who would suffer in the event of my death? 2, how much do I need? 3, how long do I need it in place for? And 4, what type do I need? If you can think of any one person that would suffer financially without you being there, then you really need life assurance. This could be to pay off the mortgage or to replace your income if you have a family. If you're a key person at work or a director of a company perhaps, how do you calculate how much someone is worth? Generally, this can be split into 3 areas. Firstly, the immediate needs: debts, funeral expenses, tax. Now, this could be inheritance tax or income tax if you're self-employed. The taxman still wants paying for your last year of work, and come to that matter, your accountant might want paying as well. Secondly, ongoing expenses that are needed: food, clothes, gas, water, electricity. And lastly, future expenses, maybe children's school or university fees, the term. If you have a large debt, say a mortgage, you need to be covered until the debt is repaid. If you have a young family, you may want them to be covered until the youngest is capable of looking after themselves financially, say maybe 21. And if you're in business, typically until you retire. The type: a decreasing term assurance plan will reduce in value as the years go by, whereas a level plan will keep the same level of payout for the whole term. Properly planned term assurance can prevent families from suffering and businesses from failing. But in all cases, it's important to act sooner rather than not being able to act at all after you die. The things to look out for on your existing or any other policy you take out are waiver of premium and trusts. Waiver of premium is when the life assurance company make your payment on your behalf if you're unable to work through sickness or in some cases redundancy. This does mean a small increase in monthly costs, but it could help keep your expenses in check if you lose your income. Trusts are legal documents ensuring that the payout goes to the correct people at the correct time, and in most cases can help prevent probate. The protection gap in the UK is £2.4 trillion. Now, that's a lot of zeros. You could look at that and think, compared to me, that's a phenomenal amount. But let's look at you for a moment. If your partner were to die, how long could you cope financially? Do you know where the will is, or if you have the right life assurance plan, and how to make a claim? Just think. Now, life assurance isn't really going to stop the emotional roller coaster of trauma, grief, sadness, and in some cases depression. Some providers do offer counselling services, by the way. What it can do is offer practical help, giving you financial breathing space and time to reorganise. The good news is that Swiss Re state that we in the UK have the lowest cost life assurance premiums in the world. Now, a life assurance policy is a great way of providing a sum of money for the people you want not to suffer when you die. But it's just like having an engine for a car, but no fuel or steering wheel. This is where a good consultant will help you with things like trusts and wills. More on these later on. After all, a person who takes out a life assurance policy is normally the owner. But what good is having a lump sum of money if you're dead? It doesn't really help you and could cause problems to your loved ones, or the ones you wouldn't want to suffer when you die. Life assurance can be one of the most important plans you ever put in place, but as human beings we don't like to talk about our own mortality. We'll put it off, procrastinate, until it could be too late. Because humans don't like to think about our own mortality, it's easy to come up with ideas of how we don't need cover. My parents will help me if anything happens. So what you're saying is that you've just taken out a mortgage debt of £100,000 to buy a house, as you don't have £100,000 in spare change. So if you were to die, your parents could magic up £100,000 to give you or your partner to clear the debt. So why haven't they given you the money now? I've got cover at work. Over the last few years, how many companies have ceased trading? A widow's or bereavement grant from the government is currently just £2,000. For a private individual, what might life assurance look like? Let's say, for instance, I have a mortgage of £100,000 on full repayment. I also have a 6-year-old child that I would really want to go to university and not suffer financially if I was to die. In this case, I would be sensible to have a plan in place that would pay off my mortgage and also a separate plan for my child, written in trust for their benefit. So what about cost? After all, times are hard, and I've just said that lots of companies have shut down over the last few years. But there are some places that still seem to be attracting customers. I can think of a few. Coffee shops, for instance. And if you know me, you know how much I love coffee. On average, a cup of coffee is £2.30. Now, if I told you that I could cover a mortgage and a child until they reach 21 for less than it costs for 6 cups of coffee per month, what would you say? Or if you'd prefer to collect the coffee shop points, how far would that go towards looking after your affairs when you die? Just thought of another place that always seems to be busy along with coffee shops: the undertakers. The population of the UK in 1880 was around 35 million. How many of them are alive now? None of them. So when is the best time to get life assurance? Well, if you think about it, the best time is to get it the split second before we meet our maker. Now, unless you've got a crystal ball, how do you know when that's going to be? As life assurance gets more expensive the older we get, the best time is now. The best time to plan ahead is now. That could be quite a lot to take in, and it is to be viewed as a general look at life assurance. So if you want to book an appointment with me to discuss how life assurance could help your family or business in the event of your death, why not get in touch now? Rob Waldron, Integrity Financial Associates.